Okay, we got another instructional video. Actually, another problem I had, so therefore I'm making a video to tell you what I did. You know, the 550B from Dillon is a phenomenal machine. However, nothing goes without its little quirks. And there's one thing, actually it's not the machine, it's actually the die, and it was of course from RCBS. Now here's an RCBS die. The problem I was having is that when you try to decap a 9mm casing, when you push down, pull down the ram, the primer, you know, there's four stations. You've got the, as you all probably know, you got the resizing and the decapping die, or station over here, the powder drop, and of course the flare, to flare the mouth for the powders here, the bullet seating, and then of course the crimping is on the last station, the fourth station. What I was having problems with, you know, I'd have one here for powder, one here for the bullet seating, one for the crimp, and then I'd go to take to get the primer out and resize the case in the first station, and the primer wouldn't come out. It would stick. What it was doing was going out, and the pin was pulling it back up into the primer pocket, and I couldn't get it out. So I'd have to advance everything one more stage, stick it in again, and it slowed down the whole processing, and it's frustrating when that stupid little primer won't come out. It would happen like once every 3 or 4 rounds, this primer wouldn't come out of the casing. So I did a little research, which some of you may have already done and know this, but some of you just don't get into doing this kind of research or don't know what to do, or if you see something, there's so much false information on the internet, you're not quite sure. So I did a little research, and one of the things that was brought up, and I've heard this before, now some of them will tell you, if it's not coming out, just take the decapping pin and screw it down so it goes further down, which is true to some extent, but like anything, too much of a good thing is not good. And so what would happen is you push down further and further so that the pin was sticking so far down, if the casing got a little off center and you pushed a little too hard on the ram, you know, the handle bringing it down, you could snap your decapping pin. And then your whole reloading for that night comes to an end unless you've got some extra decapping pins. So what I found out was that with the pin on the die right here from RCBS is a little rounded. It's not like it's not a bad configuration. It's just that it's more blunt on the end, and it's, you know, got a little rounded, but it's not. It's just a little blunt. So the recommendation I was told was to take that decapping pin, take a Dremel tool like such, right here, Dremel tool, and take yourself either any kind of grinding stone or whatever, and then take this pin and grind it or chisel it almost into a pencil point. Okay, and then when you got the thing chiseled down to a little pencil point, take the grinder and just go ahead and just kind of round off the tip. So you got in a pencil tip, but just to round off the tip a little bit. Imagine taking a number 2 pencil and sharpening it and then writing with a little bit, and it starts dulling a little bit. That's kind of what you want to do with the pin on this decapping pin. And then when you're done, you can take a stainless steel brush on a Dremel tool, stainless steel, and then what I did was I polished the outsides or the sides of this pin, just to give it a little smoother texture. Now you would think that would just go through it and it wouldn't adhere to it. Well, the problem is that it wouldn't suck it back up in the primer inside the casing right here. So like I said, one every 3 or 4 rounds, the thing would not decap the casing. It would not decap it. After I did this little modification, which took me all of about 10 minutes, that's getting all the junk together and getting the things, you know, the tools and, you know, the bits and everything else. It didn't take long. And I started loading, and 200 rounds went by, and only had one where it sucked back up in, and that was my fault because the actual decapping pin, this little bolt here, I hadn't tightened down, and it started loosening up and actually came back up higher. So I lowered it back down to where it was, tightened it up this time, and 0 problems for the next 100 rounds. So this little modification, as simple as it must seem, took care of that problem. Seriously, no complications except for that one that was my own error in 200 rounds, where the other time, every 3 or 4, I was having problems. So there's one little thing that you can do to prevent your primers from sucking back up in the case and causing your reloading to come to a halt. Okay, and so here's, to give you an example, hold on here, sorry I'm holding the camera, I'm not good at this, so bear with me. if you look, it's a flashlight. Now this is the 9mm I just got. Okay, and I went ahead. Well, this is a horrible video. Okay, yeah, you can't see nothing hardly. But on that decapping pin, I went ahead and polished the outside of it, and chiseled it down. And now, well, you can't see nothing on this. Anyway, take my word for it. Chisel it down right here. Just take a chisel down a little bit into a pencil point, round it off, polish the outsides of it with that stainless steel brush, and you got a flawless operation. So that's my video. Sorry for the quality of it. I should have had a light here, but I don't. But you can hopefully catch on by the words. Thank you so much for listening, and hope this helps you a little bit more.